Hello guys, and welcome to the Characteristics of Life video notes. These are the same notes we took during class. However, if you were absent or you need a refresher on the material, feel free to watch these videos. For Characteristics of Life, all it has to do with is what makes something living. So, your guess about whether it is biotic, living, or abiotic, not living, is called your hypothesis. Right? A hypothesis is just an educated guess. We also use the word inference in class. So, to have good information, to make a good hypothesis about whether something is biotic, living, or abiotic, not living, you need to make sure that it's evidence-based. So, how do you know if something is living, biotic, or not living, abiotic? There are 7 characteristics of life that every living thing has in one form or another. In order to be considered alive, an organism needs to have all 7. Those 7 things are cellular organization, metabolism, homeostasis, responsiveness, reproduction, heredity, and growth and development. We're going to go through each of these topics in more detail, starting with cellular organization. Every living thing is made of cells because cells are the basic unit of life. So if I were to break you down to your smallest living component, that would be a cell. Now there are a couple different types of cells, but for the most part, a cell's job is to perform the functions of the body. Some organisms are unicellular, like bacteria or amoebas, and some, like us and other large animals, are multicellular, meaning that we are made of more than one cell. Because we are made of more than one cell, we are considered cellularly organized. That means our cells work together to make tissue, our tissue works together to make organs, our organs work together to make organ systems, and a bunch of organ systems together makes us our organism, as you can see here in the horse. This is also true of multicellular plants, as you see in the bottom portion, cells to organisms. The next characteristic of life is metabolism. Metabolism has to do with energy. Every living thing needs to be able to have energy to carry out the other characteristics of life. Now, how different organisms get their energy doesn't matter. All right, what matters is that they're able to get and utilize energy. The whole process of utilizing energy is metabolism. Metabolism is a fancy word for all the chemical reactions that take place in your body. So, humans are consumers. That means that we eat to get food. That's how we get our energy, through a process called cellular respiration. Plants are not consumers, but they still need energy, so they do a process of photosynthesis to get their energy. There are 3 steps to metabolism. First, you need to either get that energy in some form or another, and then you need to use it. So humans use their energy to grow or to move. Plants use their energy to develop fruit and to grow taller. The next characteristic of life is homeostasis. I like to think of this one as homeostasis, so stay balanced. Your body is trying to keep things in balance. You don't want to be too hot or too cold. You don't want to be too basic or too acidic. You want to be right in the middle, a good balance. So your body is responding to how things are happening to try and keep you level. So if the day is really hot, so instead of overheating, your body will produce sweat to cool you off. And if the day is really cold, your body will start shivering to try and warm itself up. It's trying to get you back to a level pace. So, sweating, as I said, the science word for sweating is to perspire. You may see that on the SOL at times, but your body's response to overheating is to sweat. Sweat, the water that you usually find on your forehead, helps cool you down, and it makes it easier for you to get back to a good temperature. So, what happens with dogs? If you didn't know, dogs can't sweat. So what they do in order to keep themselves balanced is they pant. So they open their mouth and they let the hot air kind of breathe out, and it helps cool them down. Other organisms like alligators do the same thing. As alligators are sunbathing, they'll open their mouth so that they can help regulate their body temperature. Responds to stimuli. Stimuli really just means any outside factor. You as an organism need to be able to respond to the environment around you. So for humans, if there's a hot pan and you go and grab it, your hot pan is your stimulus, you are going to respond. Your response is most likely to drop the hot pan. That is you being able to respond to stimuli. Plants do the same thing. If the plants are growing where there's no sunlight, they will start to bend and grow towards where there is sunlight. That is the plant responding to its environment. The fifth characteristic of life is reproduction. So we should hopefully all know what reproduction means, but essentially a species needs to be able to reproduce more of its kind. Humans reproduce sexually. That means that we have a mom and a dad, or a female and a male sex organs. They come together in order to make a new human. Other organisms reproduce asexually, like bacteria. What happens with bacteria is they take one parent, and that parent divides itself in two in order to make two new organisms. Heredity is our sixth characteristic of life. This means that traits are passed down from parent to offspring. Now, this looks really linear when you're thinking about asexual reproduction organisms that are just, I'm making a copy of myself. Well, in sexually reproducing organisms, you're not making a copy of yourself. You're making kind of a combination of the two parents. And what happens is that child that's made has traits from both the mom and the dad, like eye color, hair color, nose shape, mouth shape. These are all traits you get from your parents. Heredity also determines diseases. So there are some diseases that are genetic. That means that they are passed down through a family tree. So for example, if your mom has a certain type of cancer, it can be passed down to you as well because you have your mom's DNA. Down syndrome and sickle cell anemia are both examples of diseases that are passed down genetically. All organisms need to grow and develop. So for plants, a lot of this is just getting taller and developing fruit. However, animals, on the other hand, have very different ways of growing and developing. Humans, they get taller, they start to develop sex organs, and as they get older, they actually start to lose the use of their sex organs. Their hair grays, their skin sags. Frogs are amphibians, so they actually start off as eggs, they grow into a tadpole, and they slowly develop through larval stages up into an adult. But these are all examples of an organism growing and developing. 7 characteristics of life are cellular organization, metabolism, energy, homeostasis, responsiveness, reproduction, heredity, and growth and development.